Hi everyone. Hope you all are safe and healthy in these complex days. Um, let's start our first recorded lecture, which is the remaining of the lecture 6. As you remember, in lecture 6, we had push and pull systems. For the push systems, we start from forecasting the demand for a feature, and then by having the forecasted demand, we obtain a master production schedule for the end item for the product, and then we go down in order to obtain the production schedule of sub-assemblies and the components to produce that product, which is called MRP process. In the MRP process, as I said, we translate the MPS or master production schedule of product or end item into the lower components, lower level components. This process, this calculation process is called explosion calculus. In the explosion calculus, we have two processes of calculations, time and quantity. In the quantity, we consider the number of each item that we need to have in order to produce one higher level item. Then by considering those numbers, we can calculate how many items we need to produce for each uh, component in any level. And by having the quantities, if we consider the lead time, and then go back in the time schedule in order to obtain the start production time for that item, then we are actually scheduling the production, and this is called obtaining the time of production. Let's have an example here. In this example, we are assuming that we are going to produce a trumpet. And here we have the BOM or bill of material of producing a trumpet. In the first level or top level, we have the end item, which here is trumpet. In the second level, uh, we have the components that we need to have in order to produce one trumpet. So here, as you see here, we need one bell assembly and one valve casing assembly. So the number in the bracket shows the number of that item we need to produce one parent item. So here the parent item is trumpet and the child item bell assembly and valve casing assembly. We have also the lead time here. As you see here, the lead time of producing bell assembly is 2 weeks, and for valve casing assembly is 4 weeks. Uh, the valve casing assembly again includes two components. The first one is slide assemblies. We need three of them. And the second component is valves. Again, we need three of them in order to produce one valve casing assembly. And also we have the lead times for these two components. Uh, in the BOM, as you see here, we have one uh, branch here, another branch here, and one more branch here. So we have three branches in this example. So in branch 1, as you see here, we have 2 weeks as our lead time. In branch 2, we have 2 weeks here, 4 weeks here, so it will be 6 weeks for second branch. And we have 3 weeks here and 4 weeks there, so the lead time for branch 3 will be 7 weeks. So the maximum will determine the lead time of producing the end item. So in this case, it's 7 weeks. So the lead time of producing one trumpet is 7 weeks. Uh, so let's assume that we are at week 1 now, and since the lead time of producing one trumpet is 7 weeks, so we can plan for week 8 and later on this example. Yeah, here we have the forecasted demand for weeks 8 up to week 17. These are the forecasted demand. And if we consider the inventory on hand and the scheduled receipts or scheduled arrivals to our inventory, we can convert the forecasted demands into the net requirement that we need to have in those weeks in order to satisfy the forecasted demand. In this case, we're expecting to receive 12 items, 12 trumpets from repair shop at week 8, 6 at week 10, and 9 at week 11. So these are the scheduled receipts or arrivals to our inventory. And also we're expecting to have 23 trumpets in inventory at the end of week 7. So by considering those numbers as inventory on hand and scheduled receipt, and if we deduct those numbers from the gross requirement, which is the forecasted demand, we can obtain the net predicted demand or net requirements for our end product, which is Trumpet here from week 8 up to week 17. So this is called our master production schedule, or MPS. Now we can go down in the BOM and translate the MPS to producing of the components. Now let's consider part bill here. And the number that the quantity of bill that we need to produce one trumpet is 1 here. So because of that, the gross requirement will be exactly the same as the gross requirement, the net requirement of trumpets. And here we are assuming that there is no on-hand inventory or scheduled receipts. So because of that, the net requirement will be again the same as the gross requirements, as you see here. Okay. And now we are done on the calculation of quantities. Now we should go for time. The lead time for bale is 2 weeks. So we need to go back for 2 weeks in our schedule to obtain the production schedule of bale. So yeah, for example, at week 8, we need 42 items. Since the lead time is 2 weeks, so we need to start from week 6 for 42 items in order to have the 42 items completed at week 8 that we need them. Okay. So this is time phase net requirements, and the planned order release or lot for lot. Here we consider the batch orders for purchasing or producing, and in this case we have considered lot for lot. The lot for lot policy means that we produce the exact amount at each period that we need them. So we are not going to produce more to keep in our inventory for later periods. So at each period, we produce the exact amount that we need in that period. This is called lot for lot policy. So those calculation was for bale. For the valve casing assembly, the calculation would be the same, but the only difference is just the lead time. The lead time for valve casing assembly is 4 weeks, so we need to go back 4 weeks in our time schedule for scheduling the production of valve casing assemblies. So because of that, we should start from week 4. Okay. So let's go down in the valve casing assembly branch and consider the valves here. We need 3 valves to produce 1 valve casing assembly. So since we need 3, we need to multiply the number of net requirements of valve casing assembly by 3, and here we have done it, and these numbers are the gross requirement for valves. Okay. So if we consider the inventory on hand and the scheduled receipts, we can calculate the net requirements. Here we are expecting to receive 96 items of valves at week 5, and we expect to have 186 items in our inventory at the end of week 3. So Since we have 186 items in our inventory at the end of week 3 and week 4, we need 126. So there will be no need for production. And at the end of week 4, we will have 60 items in our inventory. At week 5, we need 126. We're supposed to receive 96 items. We have 60 items in the inventory as well. So again, no need for production. And at the end of week 5, we will have 30 items in our inventory. At week 6, we need 96 items. We have 30 items in the inventory at the end of week 5. So the net requirement will be 66, and the rest numbers will be the same. So these are the net requirements, and since the lead time for producing the valves is 3 weeks, so we need to go back in the time schedule for 3 weeks. So at week 6, for example, we need 66 items, so we should start producing of those 66 items at week 3, as you see here, in order to have those items in week 6. And again, same as previous one, here we are considering the lot for lot policy. So these numbers will be our production plan for the valves. Yeah, as you saw, the MRP has 4 steps. The explosion means doing the calculation of the quantities that we need for each item by considering the number of each item that we need to produce one parent item. The netting, in netting, we'll consider the inventory on hand and schedule receipts or arrivals in order to calculate the net requirements. In offsetting, we consider the lead time of producing the items and then go back in the time schedule to obtain the production start time for those items. So this is called offsetting. And the lot sizing is about considering the batch quantities that we need to purchase or produce in order to meet the net requirements. So that was the remaining part of lecture 6 for the first section. So the next part of this lecture, I'm going to start the second section of lecture 6, and we will see more about the MRP and the production policies. Thank you.